Hello, and today we'll be reading from Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verses 7 through 12. Again, I saw a futility under the sun. There is a person without a companion, without even a son or brother, and though there is no end to all his struggles, his eyes are still not content with riches. Who am I struggling for, he asks, and depriving myself of good things? This too is futile and a miserable task.
Two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their efforts. For if either falls, his companion can lift him up. But pity the one who falls without another one to lift him up.
Also, if two lie down together, they can keep warm. But how can one person alone keep warm? And if someone overpowers one person, two can resist him. A cord of 3 strands is not easily broken.
Yeah, great job. Proud of you. They make me so proud. They're the best part of today. So it's all going to get slowly worse from there. Welcome to MCC. We're so glad you're here. If you're visiting with us, welcome. Here at MCC, you'll find us to be really a group of imperfect people worshiping a perfect God together and doing our best. And so I hope that you get to experience some love in this room today. We have a little treat, I guess, a gift. And so we've been working on, last week we started our memory verse, and it's 1 Thessalonians 2, verse 8. And if we could all please stand, and we're going to recite this together. And we're going to do it all together twice this week. All right? So, because we loved you so much, we were delighted to share with you not only the gospel of God, but our lives as well. One more time. Because we loved you so much, we were delighted to share with you not only the gospel of God, but our lives as well. And so, you may be seated. We have a gift. We have some temporary tattoos and a key fob. They're temporary tattoos, so they'll go away. I don't know what your stances on tattoos are, but it doesn't matter. And we're going to get up and hand those around. Each one has about 4 temporary tattoos. So each family, if you need 4, you just hold up your finger and request a 1. If you have more than 4 in your family, you can put a 2 up, and the bales are going to be dishing those out. So feel free to get a tattoo this week and remember that memory verse. So happy you all are here. I'm wearing flannel today, guys. We've got hoodies. Everyone's in their favorite hoodies, their favorite flannels. I wasn't sure if anybody was going to show up today. It was such a beautiful morning. Thank you for being here. Here at MCC, we don't have a full-time, regular speaker pastor. We have a stable of pastors that we go through, and I am speaking this month. It's my 3rd week. It's our 3rd week in a 4-week series on community. Week 1, we talked about how the community of God is like a family, but it's not necessarily a traditional-looking family. It might be, it should be broader than just a father, mother, brother. Our families can include close friends and people who might need, and if you have a good family, maybe we should broaden our minds as to who can be in our family and welcome others into our own family. And then last week, as we all get closer together as a family, we realized that we're all sinners. and we all screw up. And we talked about how we need to rely on each other and confess our sins to one another, confess our struggles, things that are going wrong in our life, things that have been done to us, things that we're struggling with. And this week, we're going to talk about being a unified community and how we need to stick together. And when we think about unity, you know, it was actually Jesus' last request. The night he was arrested, his last prayer at the Lord's Supper was that not only for his 12 apostles, but for the people who were to believe in him on down the road, his request was that we all stay unified, that we all be one. It's extremely important to God that we are unified. It's an important concept. And so, but how do you become unified? How do you stick together? I mean, it's a great idea, it's a great concept, but how do you do that? Well, in one phrase, you do hard things together. Unity can come through doing fun things together. It can come through working alongside each other, but ultimately, the strongest bonds come from doing hard things together. So, you've already learned a lot about me. The last couple of weeks. You're going to learn a little bit more because that's all I have. That's all I know. I know myself. Well, I try to know myself. And I grew up in a peaceful household. I was the youngest of four. We were all born within about 5.5 years. So we were tight. And of course, there were the squabbles and all of this. But in general, it's a very peaceful household. I actually don't have any memories of seeing my parents like argue or yell at each other. It was really peaceful. It was very nice. And as I got into high school, I noticed, okay, they're having some disagreements, but they would go, these disagreements were usually about how to handle me and my brother. I'm just going to be honest. But they would say, I'll get back with you on the consequences and how we're going to deal with this situation. They would go off, have a conversation, and come back and say something like, your father and I have decided. Or, you know, we've decided and this is how we're going to handle this situation. And it was great. But it gave me the most twisted idea of what a marriage looks like. You know, Randy Willingham, some of you all might know him. He did Chelsea and I's premarital counseling, and the whole thing was about like how to deal with conflict when it comes up. And I was like, I don't need this. The idea of marriage that I strive for is one of peace, and we're never going to fight. And if we disagree, we're going to go have a little conversation, and we're going to come back out, and Chelsea's going to say, we've decided that your father thinks this. And then I get married, and reality hits. And I like literally have like a breakdown because I think I am a failure. Me and my wife just argue all the time. We can't agree on anything. Like there's so much disagreement, you know, about big things and little things. Why won't she just say, okay, Jim, we'll do your thing? Right? You know? And so I grew up, and so I had this concept in my head that conflict itself was dysfunctional. That if conflict exists, then there's something wrong, like there's something wrong with you if you are in a conflict with someone. And I just want to say that is not the case. Conflict does not equal dysfunction. Conflict is inevitable. Conflict will happen in the best marriages, in the best churches, in the best friendships. There will be disagreements. It's not a sign of dysfunction. It's actually, you could actually argue that it's a sign of being close. So I will say that most of us, you know, we like, one of the best ways to deal with conflict is to avoid it. I don't want this in my life. I'm just going to walk right around this. I've come to a disagreement, and I'm just going to walk away. And I'll say the first thing, that's not always a bad idea. You know, there's 2 Timothy 2:23, don't have anything to do with foolish and stupid arguments because you know that they produce quarrels. Sometimes wisdom is walking away from a stupid conflict. There is wisdom in that. You know, my dad used to tell me, one of my favorite sayings of his is, you know, and excuse if this is a little borderline, but it's a quote, so don't get in a pissing fight with a skunk. You know, like there's some people that they're just skunks, and that's their weapon, and they're going to spray. And, you know, just don't engage with those people. So there's wisdom in avoiding high conflict people and high conflict situations. There are churches ripe with conflict that's not handled properly in a dysfunctional way. But on the other hand, our world and our society and technology is so good at giving us a way to run from conflict. It's so easy to just step aside, get on your phone, seek out a new friend, and just search for that comfort. Say, I don't want to deal with this, so I'm just not going to be around people. And this is one of my, Calvin and Hobbes was one of my favorite cartoons growing up. And this is just such a lovely, you know, I'll just give you all a moment to read that. You know, so when we think of the idea that we want to run from conflict, we want to run from disagreements, at the end of the day, we still have to deal with ourselves. And whether we're running from conflict with others, we run into conflict within ourselves and discord within ourselves. So we've been sold this dream that we don't necessarily have to live in any discomfort at all. But that is a lie. Discomfort in this life is inevitable, whether you have it with other people or you have it with yourself. And so when we keep running from it, there two things happen. Whether we run from it with other people, we don't mature. We stay children. And we have very superficial relationships. If we don't stick in relationships or churches or whatnot, they don't mature beyond a very superficial, how was the ball game? It was great, we won, you know, and that's that. And if you avoid it, if you avoid the discord within you, you don't mature either. You don't grow. And you certainly don't heal. And look, I'm an avoider. I look to avoid conflict myself. I hope you know by now that when I get up here and talk, I'm talking to myself. And I treasure my alone time. I mean, I need it to survive. I'm literally building a cabin in the woods, like literally building an off-grid cabin so that I can go be by myself. But I learned in this alone time that I thought I needed just to disconnect from conflict and the noise of life, that I have to face the demons within me. And so I've learned that part of this alone time that I have with myself is finding peace, but it's also spent wrestling with the negative thoughts in my head, trying to decipher what lies Satan has duped me with and what the will of God might be in my life. And sometimes it's just like just having to deal with the fact that I have to get over myself. But the purpose of all that, the purpose of me going away and being alone, isn't because I don't love my wife, I don't love my family. It's so that I can come back and be more like Jesus to them. Jesus would go off alone and pray, but he would always come back. He would always come back into community. And so we go and we get healing and we wrestle with God, with ourselves, hopefully intentionally, not just by scrolling on a phone, talking to myself, and to come back so that I can come and be a better friend to each and every one of you, so that I can be a better husband, a better father, a better shepherd, a better stranger to the guy having a hard day who screwed up my order in the drive-thru, you know? You know, this is why I want to go through these struggles with myself, is so that I can have someone to go and share this life with. And if we were to really think about whether it's conflict with each other or the inner conflict and discords inside of our minds and hearts, what we really need to do, instead of run from it, we need to see it as an opportunity. If it's going to happen with each other or within us, instead of run for it, we need to see it as an opportunity. We need to see conflict as an opportunity for growth. So one of my hobbies, I guess, is the stock market. And one thing they'll teach you in, like, you know, Stock Market 101, whatever that course is you sell high and you buy low. You buy low. And so when the stock market crashes or prices go down or something happens or a tweet goes out by someone and everything plummets, we can panic and run from the bad news, or we see that as an opportunity to dive in. We see it as an opportunity to invest. This is when I need to put more energy in. This is what I've been saving up for, building up the courage and being responsible to invest my time and energy into so that we can grow. And that's how we need to see this inner discord and conflict. We need to see it as an opportunity for growth, because when we get into conflict with one another, when there's tension and friction, it's a good sign. It means that your relationship, your friendship, your church is getting involved in each other's lives in a way that really matters. I don't get into conflicts with strangers unless I'm having a really, 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 really bad day. You know, because it's just like, what does it matter? I'm going to walk away and never see you again, so I'm not going to get into a fight with you. But when you're in each other's lives, these conflicts, they have to be addressed in order for you to grow. And not only will you grow, but you'll be healed. It's a healing process. If we see God as the great physician, he heals the brokenhearted and he binds up their wounds. God shows up in these moments and works through them and reveals himself in them. It's the same for uncomfortable situations within us or facing uncomfortable situations around us. Visiting someone who's sick, going to the hospital to visit someone who's sick, having a difficult conversation with someone who's going through a hard time. You know, every time I visit someone who's sick in the hospital or on their deathbed or recovering from a loss, I personally have to relive the worst moments of my life. I have to step into that and experience it all over again. Every time a victim of abuse helps another young man or woman walk through a similar experience, they have to relive it. Every time a recovered addict helps another addict who's made a mess of their life, they have to relive the memories of the mess that they made of their own lives before. It's uncomfortable, it's hard. So why do we do it? Because every time I do it, it's painful and it tears open those wounds. But God is faithful and he heals me. And not only does he just heal me, he heals me better than the last time. And so it's like this, it's sanctification. You know, and I'm trying to avoid big words but it's the idea that we have to go through hard things, and through them, we will be made better by them. God will show up and heal us better than we were before by experiencing that pain on behalf of another person. This is why James can say, consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance or toughness or healing. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking in anything. This is why we face the demons inside of us. This is why we walk through life, the hard things in life, with each other. Theodore went to the gym a few weeks ago, and trainer Caesar, he does a great job of understanding that my boys are young and they're not, they need a modified workout. But Theodore, he's got the drive, right? So he shows up and he sees all these adults doing all these different motions and stuff. He's like, why can't I do that? I want to do that. I want to do what that guy's doing. And Caesar was like, you sure? He's like, yeah, I want to do that. And he looks over at me and I'm like, yeah, let him do it. And so he gives Caesar the real workout. I think it was a Monday, which is always the worst day. And Theodore got so beat up that day. It was wild. I wasn't going to say this, but he actually came home from school the next day because he was hurting so badly. Like, he was so sore. But, and we were talking about it. And I told him, Theodore, that's literally how your muscles grow. Muscle growth comes by tearing them open, and then they grow back together and grow bigger and stronger. And Caesar, we were talking to him in the gym a few days ago, and it was like, Theodore, these are Caesar's words, nobody likes being sore. Nobody likes being sore, but it's something you'll learn to appreciate and love because you know that you're growing stronger for it. And that's what we need to realize, that when we're going through hard stuff together, we're going to be made stronger because of it. We do hard things together. We boldly, humbly walk through conflict together. We show up when people are going through things that are tough or messy or just really sad. We open up our own wounds so that we can heal the wounds of others. This is how God intended us to become unified and bond together. And it honestly reminds me of when I learned to fish. I don't remember who taught me this, but my fishing line broke and it snapped, and I was taught how to tie a knot to repair the line. And we kept fishing, and it broke again. And I was like, oh, okay, so the knot must have broke. And I was taught, no. Actually, if you tie the right knot properly, that becomes the strongest part of the rope. That becomes the strongest part of the line. It can unravel if you do it wrong, and you need to redo it, but that knot becomes stronger than the whole line itself. And that's what I want us to do in this church, is that when we see something broken, when we see something frayed, that we bind together. And there's frustration and joy in learning how to tie those knots. Trust me. If you've ever taught a child or someone else how to tie a knot, it's frustrating and hard. But there's so much deep satisfaction in learning how to tie a knot. And we'll screw up tying the knots and they'll unravel. They might be complicated, and these knots might take a long time to learn how to tie them. But we need to see our differences and our conflict and our inner discomfort as an opportunity to grow closer to God and to each other, to become more unified. When we see something broken, we need to jump in and fix it. A cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. So this week, I have a request for you. When you experience a conflict, an interpersonal conflict, don't run from it. Try to address it humbly, selflessly. Something that I learned is that when you are in an argument with someone, like your wife, you talk to them with open hands and just say, look, I'm just trying to resolve this. I want to do better. But also, if this week you find discomfort or discord in your heart, don't be afraid to dive into it. Don't necessarily, maybe just once, don't reach for your phone or the remote or whatever to numb it all away. Because something that's going inside of you, that's where God will work in your life. That is where God will say, I want to work in that discomfort. Because it's a sign of our brokenness, and he wants to heal you. He wants to feel that. He wants to heal that discord and make it harmonic. So, let's close in prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving us so many wonderful people in this world. Thank you for showing us so many different sides of you and different parts of you through different people. Each one of us is created in your image, God, and you reveal yourself to us through others. And let us be mindful of that we are all created in your image, and that you know for us it is better to be unified. Help us to dive into and face difficult things. Help us to do hard things together so that when real struggle comes, we're not alone. So that we can celebrate and that the toil we struggle for day in and day out is more enjoyable because we have someone to celebrate it with. And when we stumble and fall, there's someone there to pick us up. Help us to commit to one another, to do hard things together, God. It's in your Son's name we pray. Amen.